Again?
And you?
Oh, I'm excellent.
Very good.
Had a good day, productive. So,
Nice.
mhm.
Nice. Things are good in Tucson?
The weather has turned. It feels like fall is finally here, you know. So, woke up this morning, it was 54 degrees outside. It felt, almost chilly. Yeah.
It's going to get into the 50s here this evening, finally, here in the Valley of the Sunburn.
Well, we're always a little bit cooler than you guys, just a bit. Hmm.
Oh, well, you think you're cool people in general, is what you're trying to tell me.
I don't think I know. It's a fact.
I love it. Well, hey, we're going to have some fun tomorrow, right? So,
Mhm.
you and I both have the opportunity to meet some people who are aspiring licensees at one of the schools of real estate down in Tucson, and we'll be speaking to some prospective new agents that'll be coming into the business and looking for a place to grow their career.
Yeah, I'm
It's,
excited about that. But
it's always
it's interesting when you're meeting people who are just getting into the business. It's always, we're talking about this. It's hard to tell who's going to be just a natural in the business, who's going to have to work hard at it to get there, and who's going to just not quite make it. You know, it
I mean,
happens.
over the years, I'm sure I've spoken to got to be in the thousand plus category over the years. Different fairs, exposition, exhibitions, and you wonder, like, when you meet with these people, one, how many of them are going to finish and actually get the license?
Mhm.
And it's a smaller number than people actually understand. Some people begin the classes, find out it's not them, or begin the classes and get a different job, and they don't come back and just don't feel like committing the rest of the time. And other people, unfortunately, just can't pass the class.
Can't pass I
School,
used to,
school or state or national. So you've got three hurdles to get through there.
in a former position, I used to occasionally speak to people who were interested in becoming real estate agents before they even went to the school. And the beginning of my class was, you shouldn't do this. You probably shouldn't do this. This is going to be an investment of time, energy, and some money, and most of you are going to fail. And they would look at me like, wait, I thought you were supposed to tell us to come do this. And I would say, if you can't pass this little piece of me telling you that you probably are going to fail, you will fail. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, the failure rate in the first 2 years is 90%.
Yeah.
Now, there may be people that are still licensed, if you will, and they'll continue to keep it active, but actually making this into a career, if you say 90% fallout, that leaves 10 at the end of year two. By year five, you're down to like two out of the 100 that are
Right.
actually doing it and making it a career, where if they were the only person, single person household, if you will, they were able to pay their bills. It's like two out of 100.
Well, if you look at some other careers, and I'm not talking about a place where you're going into a business that's already started. If you're working for somebody else, that's a different story. But if you're starting your own business, it's not an easy row. You can't just hoe the weeds and then everything sprouts up. I've been in the restaurant business before, and typically in the first year, 1 out of 10 survives.
Right. Well, the misconceptions. Let's just, if you're seeking a real estate license, clearly there are a lot of different avenues you can go down. But let's just say for a moment, you're going to go down the road of residential resale. Most people don't know what it is you're actually signing up for.
Mhm.
People like, oh my God, I just love to look at homes. That's not exactly what this is.
Mm.
I'm a people person. Huh, great.
That's
Um,
nice. That's an
Wonderful.
asset, but we'll see.
Right. But I think a lot of people don't understand that this is a unique thing where it's a service job. It's not a sales job.
Right.
Very much a service job to do, taskmaster wise. You do have to be able to sell,
Hmm.
but you have to sell you. You have to sell yourself. And most people just aren't very good at that because, and if you think about it, a lot of people come here as a second, third, or fourth time. This is the first time working for themselves. And maybe they've been in other industries where they've been in sales and they think they're a great salesperson.
Hmm.
Well, is it because you're good at what you do or what you did? Or is it because you got to sell something that nobody else had? So, if we're going to, if you're going to have a salesperson that comes into your office and they're going to sell a product, I don't care if it's for antidepressant or if it's for erectile dysfunction. I mean, if you're the only one on the street that's selling that product and your sales are great, it, it may not be you. It may
Give me
be.
that little blue pill. So no, I got it totally. But
How do you know that color?
I don't want to completely like talk everybody out of this business, because if you have the right stuff and if you have the right training, this is a wonderful career. Yeah.
So when you say the right stuff, what are some of the things over the years that have stood out to you? And I mean, it's so hard when you sit down and you speak with somebody for an interview or even two interviews.
Mhm.
A lot of people can pull it off for an hour
Yep.
or more, but to really go through and make it a career, it's a crapshoot. When you hire somebody and you say, "Yeah, you're welcome to work here. We can help you grow your career," it's a total roll of the dice, and there's no guarantees. No matter who walks through your door, that they're going to be able to succeed and make this a career.
Yep.
But over the course of time, what would you say are some of the key things that separate those who make it from those who don't? And what are you looking for when you talk to people?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this, and the interesting thing is that it's hard to find common attributes of successful real estate agents, exactly because the successful real estate agent has to really be comfortable being who they are and connecting with people who are like them in some way or another. So I'd say if there's one common trait among the people who've been most successful, that would be it. That they don't try and fish the entire ocean. They look for the fish that are like them, basically.
Right.
And that's not universally true, but most of the time, if that particular person, aside from all the other stuff, which is can you manage your time and can you realize that this is your business and you have to invest in it and those sorts of things, but otherwise, if somebody is really comfortable being who they are and they can show up and be honestly who they are, that's a real key trait. And it doesn't matter what that is, whether or not they're like, I mean, I don't want to disparage anybody, but the who you are doesn't necessarily have to be bright and shiny and wonderful.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It does have to be resilient.
Yes.
And you usually don't find that out about people until you've seen them take a lot of no's. It's like the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Um, can they get back up? Can they recover? Can they continue to move ahead? Can they lack hearing when it comes to the word no? Because sometimes you got to find out what no means. Is it
Hmm.
no to you? Is it no to the timing? You got to really figure out who are those people that when things aren't easy, because you're going to, especially in your first year, um, in any year, if you're not mindful of the habits good habits of having consistent business, you are going to have a lot of valleys. You're going to have some peaks, but you're going to have some valleys. And do they have the ability, the wherewithal to dig through those times and get themselves out of those valleys? And have they been doing the responsible things financially in order to survive those valleys as well?
Yep.
As good people have to leave the business because they didn't stay true to their habits. And sometimes one of the hardest things a person can endure is early success.
Mhm.
It's a blessing and a curse for some people, because if your first sale is out of the gate and you sell a multi-million-dollar property or something, you get a nice payday. Thinking it was easy and thinking it's going to come that easy over and over again might just be the demise of your career.
I actually have seen that several times. I used to, run an office that was pretty much a luxury office, and occasionally people would walk into the office and they would be looking for a really expensive home and had nobody. And on a couple of occasions, a totally new agent would get that client. And of course, we'd help them and coach them through all that they needed to do to get it done. And they'd get that nice big paycheck and then sit on the floor and wait for somebody else to wander in. But manna doesn't drop from heaven like that every day. Yeah.
It doesn't. And sometimes you're fortunate, and sometimes good fortune leaves real quick. And that's where you find out what people are really made of. Can they dig through? Can they continue to move ahead, even when it's difficult?
Mm-hmm.
And this business can be lonely, and a lot of people have a difficult time with that as well. I mean, you're wearing a lot of hats in this business, so you have to have a lot of different skills,
Yep.
uh, or the ability. And this is one of the key things, I think. You have to have the ability to want to learn. You have to desire to continue to grow in your scope of what you can take on, what you can learn. Because technology, everything changes over time. I mean, when I first started in this, everything with the multiple listing service was still a DOS system where you had to upload the individual fields into the program to populate what you were looking for. We weren't even a web-based platform with the MLS at that time. And that's, only 25 years ago.
That microphone's.
So you have to be able to look at new things, take on new challenges, and at the same time that you're learning these things, continue to do the business that you were doing to get you where you are today.
Yep. Well, so
They-
I'm still thinking about agents that were remarkable in my career. And sometimes an agent starts off not so great. I'm in a blog right now. Thank you. So I'm
I love the live.
yeah. So
Really? Can you help me right now?
in this particular instance, this is an agent who's kind of mediocre and kind of casting about looking for what to do, and then a major life event happened, and it was a shocking life event, could have ended the life, and it caused that person to rethink everything and to really focus in on what was important and material to them. And at that moment, they started casting off all of the stuff that was unnecessary and focusing in on the things that were necessary for them to have a good life. And that one attitude, that one little change made that agent one of the best agents I've ever seen in my life. They didn't worry about the small stuff. They didn't worry about, other agents who were difficult and obstreperous. They didn't have a problem with clients that, that just had unrealistic ideas and expectations. In fact, they'd tell those people, I'm probably not for you. Go ahead. I don't need to sell your $1 million home. Somebody else can do that for you. And because of that attitude of being not needing anybody else and being focused on what was important to them, and part of that was service to other people, they became one of the best agents I've ever known. So
Well, what was your first year like? I mean, how did things start out for you? And what do you attribute like that first year and why you're still in the business?
So the first year for me was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. For one thing, I came in at the real ramp up, back in 2005, and everybody else was just making tons of money, and were really too busy to give me any kind of training. And I didn't start under brokers that really focused on that. And but on the other hand, I also felt like I really didn't need that much because I could do it all myself. And to some extent, that was true. But that was also part of my downfall because in figuring that I knew it all already in some way, clients would look at that and go, no interest, don't want to work with you. And I learned through that that it really wasn't about knowing the facts and the figures and the numbers and and the legal niceties and all of that, which I do know, but it was really more about creating a genuine relationship. And once I learned that lesson, my career began to take off. So it was really just transferring the idea that knowledge would win the day to going from the mind to the heart, basically. Really taking the code of ethics and transferring that internally and looking at the people that I was working with as the people that I needed to serve and put their interests first. And once that was clear in my head, people looked at me and went, "Oh, you're not like any other real estate agent I've met. I got to use you." And so that was the key to my success early on.
Awesome.
How about you?
Um, well, I had just lost my job. So this was going back to toward the end of 2001. I was going to classes when 9/11 happened. So as soon as I got licensed, nothing was going on in the whole industry in the world, quite frankly, as far as the US went. Was at a standstill and it was a place of fear. But when I chose to go the path of real estate, it was a choice. It was a choice to not want to go back to the corporate world and become self-reliant. I didn't want somebody to choose my fate for me.
Right.
So that first year I made a deal with myself and it was a big deal to me. I was making good money. I was roughly 30 years old. I was making over $200,000 a year at the time and that was a lot of money then. And I made a deal with myself that in 2002 I either earn the ability to continue to work for myself or I don't deserve it. So by the end of the year, I had to be able to make about what I was making before. So for me, a lot of the motivation was I'm not going back. It was, I don't, I was probably driven more by the unwilling, yeah, I was unwilling to fail. I was more fearful of failing and having to go back and eat crow and say, I couldn't do it. I think that drove me harder than the success component of it.
Hmm.
Um, I had to do it. I was not going to fail come hell or high water. And it went from that point in time until March. March, I received my first, if you will, check. At the time, we could call it commissions. I received my first commission check in March. And by the end of that year, I had done totally different price level, of course, $8 million worth of sales
Fantastic.
in 2002. But I was never going to look back. And that was the lowest year. I was then driven to never go backwards in what I could do as far as production. Now, once I got into the 15, 20, $30 million in a year production individually, I kind of I didn't worry as much about the actual dollars because I've never been one to focus on any particular price level. It's been the full range for me. I tend to choose more about the people I work with rather than purely the property. Some people have a delineation. They won't work with people below X dollars. Um, I enjoy people at all price ranges. I enjoy a wide range of people, a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds, and I learn a lot from my experiences with people. But that first year was, if I didn't have a client sitting next to me, if I didn't have a client in front of me, then every waking hour was going to be spent finding that individual that was ready to transact. Because as you and I both know, people aren't buying and selling on our time frame. So a lot of these relationships, although you may begin the relationship today,
Mhm.
you may never do a transaction with that individual for, quite frankly, years. So
Mhm.
the question is, do you view it as a marathon? And are you willing to continue to, if you will, nurture that relationship? So, and in a meaningful way, so that at the point in time when they're actually willing to do something, if it's the time for them to buy or sell, or even refer you, if you will, to somebody who is ready, you've got to be willing to do all of that investment over time and believe. I mean, a lot of this is self-belief. If you
Mhm.
don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your efforts, the self-talk will turn on you.
Mhm.
You will talk yourself right out of this business.
Mhm. That's true. Actually, I've seen some pretty successful agents who, something happens and then they feel like they've lost it. And because they feel like they've lost it. And so you kind of have to get over that little mental, trap. The mind can just take you down, down a little sewer system if you're not careful. And
The first person you have to be able to influence, right, and persuade is yourself.
yeah.
It really is. And I think the self-doubt, because it does take time to get going. It does take time to have that consistent business. The self-doubt will eat you alive if you allow it.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the right environment. A lot of times people come out of the classes and they have no clue about how much they don't know when it comes to actually transacting, working with clients, getting somebody to actually work with you, and then all the process. Whether
Mhm.
it's working with a buyer or a seller, that's a totally different world as well, as far as managing a transaction. Because you know as well as I do, there is a fly in the ointment in every single transaction,
That's right.
no matter when and what. And can you manage it and do it in such a way that you bring a calmness to what you're doing?
Mhm.
Because we're there for the client.
So
And if we're spazzes or
I'm gonna,
react,
I'm gonna just object a little bit.
clients are going to be reactive as well. I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to
Okay.
set the tone.
But what I want to say is that when we're talking about successful agents, they're not all the same. And what
Mhm.
you're practicing and what I like and what we both like is to have a quality of life and to enjoy what we're doing and and have good relationships with other people. But I have known some agents who are very successful who literally browbeat their clients and everybody else around them. And I wouldn't say that from my perspective, they're happy people, but are they successful? They're successful. There's certain clients that actually need to be browbeaten, apparently, because they go to those particular agents. So I don't know.
We're not going to talk about people's childhood upbringing today, right?
Yeah.
And what they respond to and what motivates them. But
Well, the
it
good thing is that this is a world where all things are available. If that's what you need, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but it won't be me. Yeah.
what we do is certainly a unique way to make a living.
Yes.
And yeah, a lot of it is just believing in yourself first,
Mhm.
understanding what you have to do to accomplish what you set out to do,
Mhm.
then moving forward with the belief that you're doing the right things with a good support system around you, and continuing to do that and expanding your mind and your actions to take on what it is you ultimately want to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you're reading or working on now that
Oh,
for you, like where are you at? And man, you have just an amazing life with the amount of things and the different things that you have taken on over time. Um, what inspires you now outside of growing what we're growing together? What inspires you? I mean, what's got you?
so for me, I always need to be like learning something new, taking on something new. That's part of what makes me happy in life is to expand in some other new way I haven't done before. So in my mornings right now, I do about 15 minutes of study with an AI bot on Spanish. So I'm learning Spanish, something I've always wanted to do. And it's actually starting to work because, I mean, the nice thing about it is that you're just not learning grammar, you're not repeating phrases. You're talking with a bot that actually seems relatively human and remembers what you said before. And so the conversations get more elaborate, and that's been fun. So I've been doing that. And then I've been learning Tai Chi, which has been really good for my body. And so those are two things that have been not only invigorating for the mind, but also lessons for the body. And I've been thinking a lot and sort of, I'm ready to write something creative, but not quite yet. And rather than just a poem, or because I write poetry, as you know, and occasionally plays and things like that. But at this point, I have sort of some thoughts about the human experience with regards to a lot of stuff. And this would have to do with pair bonding and sexuality, and and our need to be with other people and build relationships and what that means. And I'm not really satisfied with everything I've heard and read about that. And so I'm feeling like I'd like to create something that will explain my perception of that at this point. So so for me, it's not just taking in, it's also creating something. And in this case, it'll be a writing, probably. Maybe it'll end up being a play. That's possible.
Nice.
How about you?
Uh, I'm one that listens to audiobooks in the morning when I work out. So right now I'm with Caldini, and it's influence and persuasion. Uh, tremendous, a tremendous, if you will, teaching about what we react to as a society and as people, what influences us, and just basic human behavior.
Mhm.
The other part of it is I love to create. So I've always enjoyed creativity in storytelling, writing, or visual. I love photography. I'm learning more and more about the video side of the world, and it's moving at such a fast pace. I mean, the amount of control to be able to, if you will, manipulate things visually with
Mhm.
some of the apps and the things that are out there compared to the, if you will, the first and most rudimentary days of things like Final Cut and stuff like that. I mean, what you can do now because of social media and all the people that it's inspired to create all these things is just outrageous. So trying to learn that and be able to message things in a great way is a lot of fun to me.
Mhm. I know we're sort of I think we're in an interesting stage in human evolution, and it's at once terrifying and exciting. It looks sometimes, if I look at where we are as a society and the world in general, we're on the brink of destruction. But we've been there for a long time. Never as close as we are now, in my opinion. But that's also the possibility of some grand new creation, some new vision of life. And in the past, when I've seen big changes in the world or when I've read about them, it's these kinds of points. They're like inflection points, or, if you're walking on a beach and you come up to a cusp and then you go to a different beach, we're in that cusp, I think. Where we're going to go, I don't know, but it'll be within our lifetimes, and probably sooner than later. And I'm hoping that it's for the benefit of all of humanity. That's what I hope.
Hopefully, but I'm just gonna say right now, and I agree with you completely. And clearly, we're way outside the realm of real estate at this
Oh,
point.
well.
Talking life. Um, I cannot remember who exactly said it, but it was certainly a quote from a movie, and it was, and I think we're there, based upon reactionary, if you will, human behavior and the way that we're interrelating to each other right now. That gives me the most concern. And so one of the movie quotes at the time was, has our technology, have we hit that inflection point, like you said earlier? Has our technology surpassed our humanity? If you look at AI, if you look at the ability to manipulate, if you will, um, reactions and human to human interaction and acceptance and the ability to just have difference, but at the same time, be able to accept and communicate through it, to me is eroding, as I see it. And that is probably the saddest thing for me to witness. And social media is an amazing, if you will, social experiment. We've all opted into it. And this crazy little lab, we provided everything. And, you take that and you mix that along with what AI can do. And I think you have a perfect storm for what could really be difficult for us to be able to evolve through.
I guess. I mean, I certainly hear you. And there's a lot to be said on that side of things. But here's the other thing that I'm saying. We all had the experience of being separate from one another during COVID. And people realized that they didn't have to do the work they were doing in a group of other people in a cubicle someplace. And that seemed liberating at once. And yet, because you were separate from other people doing your work and doing your time and being on your phone and not actually going out and being with people, it's also isolating.
Mhm.
And so I see people turning right now to return to social connectivity. And part of the way I see that is what happens in the office when people come here to be together and work together. And it's not every day, it's infrequent, but when it happens, people are excited and they're, full of energy and joyous, and they want to help each other and they want to connect with each other, and in a way that is genuine and real and wonderful. And I think that that's the tip of something that could really happen in our world, that that feeling of community may be re-embraced again. There's such division in the country and in the world right now, but that division is a symptom of something else. And at some point or another, I think people will wake up and say, wait, the differences between us are this, and the things that join us are this. And why are we focusing on this? I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
yeah. Lots of interesting questions ahead of us.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Well,
So yeah,
another wonderful 30 minutes has
there you
passed.
go. Absolutely. So,
And who
thanks
knows where
again.
we're going to go next, because,
And thanks again to everybody that just you know, provided, if you will, their attention today and tuned into this. And thank you so much. And welcome again to Armed and Thirsty. Hope you'll like and subscribe, and hope you'll be back. Uh, Again, I'm Lloyd Fox.
John Myjack.
We'll see you next time here on
All right.
Arm Thursday. Take care.
Bye-bye, Lloyd.